Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Raymond. This is CanuckAir Simulations. Today we're going to release to the public CanuckAir Simulations in its entirety, hopefully, for the first time. You've likely seen or heard of some of the add-ons that CanuckAir Simulations has developed and listed on SimMarket. But there's never been a formal who are we, what do we do, that kind of sort of thing. And I've decided that we need to kind of introduce ourselves to the sim community, for the sim community to understand who we are, what do we do, what is our purpose, and that kind of stuff. So to start with, CanuckAir Simulations is me, the founder. I'm the one that created it. It was born from Stream Gamers YouTube channel. That's where I got started. So I am Stream Gamers as well, as you might all recognize, those that have watched my videos over there. But it's been kind of merged together, and I want to kind of pull them apart because they're really two different things. So Stream Gamers is really about, gaming and how what you do in the gaming world and that kind of stuff. Whereas CanuckAir Simulations is a simulations development company. We develop add-ons to enhance, improve, expand upon the simulation world, primarily in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 and 2024, but not limited to. I say that because in the coming days, weeks, and or months, it will be evident why I've said that. But today, it's primarily the 2020 and 2024 Microsoft Flight Simulation. Okay, so what we're seeing here in front of us, I'm just going to get that camera down a little bit. What you're seeing here in front of us here is the website. Now, the website has been developed. There's a fair bit of work left to be done on it, but it's developed in a way where I'm able to kind of show you some of the tools and the layout of the website and what we're intending to do, the direction that this website is actually going to go in. So the home screen is just that. The products page, I will go to it briefly, but really the products page is not really a place for people to go to right now, and it is because all of our products are listed on SimMarket. Right now, that's where all of our products will be. If you're looking to buy a product, it will be on SimMarket. If there's new development, you can come here. And if you're looking to purchase that, go to SimMarket and buy it on SimMarket, because that's where it'll be. The resource tab is kind of where we're going to live in today for today's video. Today's video is going to hopefully be somewhat short. You're going to see me from time to time kind of glance over to the side. That's because I got some notes over there to help me kind of keep me on track of what we're intending to discuss, and that I don't get off topic. So I apologize if it looks somewhat rehearsed. It is. I'm not a huge YouTuber. I don't do this for a living. I do, that is to say, creating content for YouTube. But I want the community to know who we are. We're a small, passionate development team dedicated to enhancing Microsoft Flight Simulation experience, both to 2020-24, but again, not limited to those packages and only those packages. Okay. And so we have released a number of packages over the last 4 to 5 months. And those packages are all, let's just go to SimMarket. If you just go to SimMarket and you type in up there in the search engine, CanuckAir, all one word, CanuckAir, CanuckAir. Yes, we are Canadian, but the world is a huge, wonderful place, and Canadian is only where I live, and that's where the name came from. I'm a Canadian, and so most of the world understands who Canucks are, us. So that's kind of where it came from. Anyways, I digress. These are the packages that are listed on Sim Marketplace for download, purchase, and so forth and so on. Okay, and we're going to be doing more. Right. Okay. So let's kind of go over the resource tab. Let's touch base on the top 3 links here. These bottom 3 links right now are projects that we're working on, and these are kind of free utilities being offered to you, the buyers of the products, but not just limited to those buyers of the products, but it's also kind of for anybody who wants to use them. So we're going to touch base on Airport World ever so slightly. And these pages are going to change. As you can see, it's kind of mirrored the world over and over and over again. And really, all we really care about is this, this little integral part here. What you see down in the bottom here is to be able to request an airport. If you come in here and say, I want to request an airport, please fill in as much of the information as you possibly can, because it will help me to be able to get this added in. Without going into detail, a lot of the information, what you see here, is necessary to get the airport in. Also recognize that if you put in a request, it doesn't mean that next week, Tuesday, that airport will be added in. The whole development project that we have, or the whole development process that we have moving forward is what is called as our timeline. So our development timeline is kind of strategically laid out. We'll be putting new projects in there, taking old ones out as they complete, and they run to the end of their life. But that timeline will be ever growing and growing and growing, and we want to put them in there. Our goal is to make sure that if there are issues, if there are development problems, we want to fix those first and foremost, because that is the most important thing to me personally. It's kind of a commitment that you will have with me is that if there's a problem with the package, it will be corrected. However, I want you all to understand that the package being put into the simulator in its native state will always work. If you have other add-ons or development packages added in there that's causing a problem, I can't control that. So when I test these things, I test them with the sim in its native state-ish, not completely, with nothing in the community folder, but very little in the community folder, because there are literally hundreds of thousands of add-ons that can be added into the simulator, and we can't test against each and every one of them. Okay, so what we're looking at here, let me just first explain what Airport World is, and then we'll touch on what it is not. What it is it's a collection of 1,900, just over 1,900 airports that are not currently in 2020 or in 2024. They have been omitted for whatever reason. Some of these airports are closed airports, so we understand maybe why 2020 or 2024 didn't put them in, but I've put them back in. Okay, some, they just weren't added in for what reason, don't know, but they weren't. So you can see these balloons. So that section that's highlighted, there are 386 airports that have been added into that portion or that section of the world. If you zoom in, you will see those balloons will eventually balloon themselves out until you actually see these little markers. Those little markers will tell you what the name of the airport is and what is the ICAO code of that given airport. Okay, so that will be, when you're in 2020 or 2024, that is what you will put in order to find this airport and or the name itself. Okay, what Airport World is not is a complete replacement for the entire airport. This is only adding in, let me zoom in. This is only adding in the airport runway. Unlike others out there, these airports and their given primary runways are pointing in the right direction, meaning they're aimed in the right heading. They have the right length. They have the right width. They have the right surface, and they're at the right altitude. That's what Airport World is. Again, what it's not is an airport where you say what your local community airport is. Let's just take an airport, for example, in let's use this one right here in the UK. So you might know this airfield, Fishburne Airfield GB-0002. You may know that airport. You may go to that airport after purchasing Airport World and go, hey, it doesn't look right, because it's not intended to look right. Right now, the Airport World is just that. It's the runway, the primary runway, the correct heading, the correct surface, the correct elevation, the correct length, and the correct width. That's what it is, because there are other packages out there that just place airports or runways everywhere, and they're way too short. They're not what they should be. They're way too long because they shouldn't be. 12,000 foot runways. They're way too high. They're not at the right elevation. They're sunk in the ground. They're raised above the ground. All of this is going to go to correct that kind of stuff. If 2020 or 2024 has buildings, and a lot of places, there's an airport that I know for sure, right here in northern Manitoba, called the Pas. There is this airport right here. I know that there are some buildings here, even though you cannot go into 2020 or 2024, put that ICO code in and spawn in here. You can with this package. So there are some places in the world that will already have generic buildings added in, but no place to be able to say, okay, hey, I want to go there. Okay, so that's Airport World. There's probably I'm probably doing it an injustice in trying to explain what it totally is. It's complete, so forth. But what you should be aware of is in this part, there are 1,900 airports being added in, and there still is probably another, give or take, 15,000 that need to get put in. So this project will continue to grow, and more of these airports will be added in. At some point, as a part of the development, we're intending to actually start adding some generic airport assets to be added in, so that those airports that don't have anything but should have maybe a fuel rack, or maybe should have a small little shack there, or that kind of stuff, the intention is to be able to have that in. That's a part of the timeline for the development that's being added as a part of the timeline. That will get pushed further and further out the more development that needs to come in front of it. But that's kind of where the project is going. Okay, let's touch on NDB World. So NDB World is just that. It's an NDB. There are right now reported 5,126 NDBs that are listed on this website. These are NDBs that have been removed from 2020 and or 2024, but in FSX days we had these NDBs, and that's 5,100 NDBs that didn't exist. Now, for those that are not interested in flying with NDBs and VORs and dead reckoning and all kind of stuff, fast forward the video if you like. But for those that are interested in, and I realize it's not a huge part, but there is a significant amount of people who like to fly NDBs. Now, how does that work? Well, let's presume for a moment you're down here in East St. Paul. You're flying your general aviation aircraft, and you would like to fly NDB. You don't want to fly a flight plan. You don't want to use GPS. You want to navigate the way it used to be navigated. So in your aircraft, you would, in the ADF radio, you would tune in the frequency of, in this case, you would tune in the frequency of 342, and your NDB pointer would point in that direction. It would say, hey, go fly over that way. Now, you do have to be within a certain distance. This distance is 41 nautical. That's 41 nautical miles. So this distance is 41 nautical miles. So if you're, as long as you're within 41 nautical miles of that NDB from the St. Paul airport, your little pointer will happen. Now, you would come here and you would select, the NDBs and transition yourself in the direction that you wanted to. Let's say your end result was you wanted to be in Portage la Prairie in Canada, in Manitoba. Right there, that's where you want to go, and you're here. And you don't want to fly GPS. So you would map out your NDBs that you intend to use to get there, and that's how you would fly. Now, way back in the day, that's how people would fly, and there is a certain group of pilots, sim pilots that enjoy that type of flight. You're looking at one of them. I enjoy doing that a little bit too. Now those people that are going to say, well, yes, but we don't need this stuff anymore. Raymond, we don't need all this stuff anymore. You're right, we don't. And for you people that don't want to do this, you guys want to fly your GPSs and stuff like that, which I do a lot too. Don't get me wrong, I fly GPS a lot too. Flight plans and airliners and that kind of stuff. But I enjoy this. This is a bit of a challenge. And if you haven't done this, I challenge you to just go get your general aviation aircraft, tune in your 80F radio, and fly an NDB. Fly a VOR, fly an NDB. Right now, this only has NDBs in it. But in time, we're going to be expanding this project to include things like VORs, missing VORs. There isn't a lot of missing VORs, but we're going to put them in, and so we're going to start expanding upon this project in that same fashion that we intend to do with Airport World. So what is this project? This project is all of the NDBs that were in FSX are now in 2020 and or 2024. If there are some missing, by all means, go ahead and reach out to us. Sales at CanuckAirSimulations.com. I will try to leave some notes in the description so that all of the relative information that I talk about should be down there in the description. Hopefully I remember to do that. But go ahead and add that in. Like Airport World, you give me the list of NDBs that should be there that are not there. I'll verify them and make sure that they should be there. If I can get all of the relevant information, so the relevant information is altitude, lat, long coordinates. What is the frequency? What is the type of NDB radio it is? That's pretty important, whether it's a long range or short range NDB. I think they're called something other than that, but it's important to have all of the information. And when there is enough of that, I will get that added in. Okay. It does not. What it isn't is it does not show a radio tower or a hard thing there in the world to say, here, this is the NDB, tower where the NDB signal is coming from. It doesn't show any of that stuff. This is just an imaginary object in the sky, if you will. As a part of a long-term development, we have added that into this development line, where our hopes are to create maybe a generic, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 different generic types of radio frequency towers and that kind of stuff, that we might add these into the world, and they would have a physical structure being added into the world. But again, that's a part of the whole, the whole timeline, life cycle of the product. Okay, that touches base with NDB World. Now, let's talk briefly about Heliport World. So, one other thing quickly. Let's before we finish NDB World, note that you see all these nice balloons in Airport World and also in Heliport World. The intent is to get NDB World in that same fashion, that it would balloon up instead of seeing all of these red, clusters of everywhere, because it's Anyways, you get the point. Okay, so let's talk about Heliport World. What is Heliport World? Well, Heliport is all of the heliports that are currently not in 2020 and or in 2024. They are now. So I know that Microsoft had said that they were going to add all of the heliports in 2024. Some of these heliports that are in here now may be duplicates, may not be duplicates. We are filtering through those if they are duplicates, and if you find, some given airports that have duplicates in, granted, you have to understand that there are 15,000 heliports that have been added into the world. So if you find duplicates, by all means, send us an email through sales at CanuckAirSimulations.com, and go ahead and send us that in there, and those corrections will be made relatively quickly, because again, we want to make sure that your experience is all that is expected. And to see 2 heliports one on top of the other may not necessarily be the greatest thing. So those will get corrected fairly quickly. They won't be corrected, if you release it today. If you send us an email saying, hey, there's a duplicate airport here or a duplicate heliport here, it likely won't get corrected tomorrow, but they'll get corrected fairly quickly. Okay, back to what heliport world is. It is not giving you every aspect of the heliport, the entire airport, of the helicopter. So what I'm trying to say is, if there's a hospital that has a heliport on the roof, and that building doesn't exist in 2020 and or 2024, that heliport's just going to be hovering in the air somewhere because it's set to a given altitude where it should be on top of the building. And again, if there are some of these things that you guys see, report back. We will put together a timeline where we get these things corrected. Just so you know, this has not been released for sale yet. This is just a project that's being worked on. It's very close, but it is not released. So, hang on to your hats if you're looking forward to having this, because it will be released shortly. I say shortly because shortly could be a week from now, or it could be 10 days or a month from now. But we're close, okay? So each of the heliports being added in are at the correct elevation, okay? So this heliport is sitting here at its correct elevation where it's supposed to be in its lat and longitude. The surface has been mostly correct. It isn't always 100% correct. There are some that I've actually witnessed around the world to find out that should be grass and now they happen to be concrete, for example. I've not seen a lot of that, but there are some. In some places where I'm trying to remember, what is that ICO code? 01MA, I believe it is. Search. Yes. So in this area right here, this is a prime example of that. In the sim, without this heliport world, if you go to this area, now you won't be able to go to the heliport because it doesn't exist, but if you go to this area, what has happened here is there's in a lot of 2020 and 2024 scenery, they've put these big clumps of scenery, buildings, trees, whatever you want to call it, rock or whatever, and it's really out of place. So what I wanted to do is to make sure that the heliport is at the right elevation. I want it to be sitting, at the elevation that it should be sitting at. And so what I've done is I've cleared an area around where this should sit. So this particular spot, if you want to make a note of this, 01MA, when you purchase this and go there, you're going to see it kind of looks a little goofy. I'm sure it's not the only one of its sort that looks that way, but it is right now the only way we can get that heliport at the right elevation, at the right lat and longitude where it's actually supposed to be. And that's one of the whole purposes of heliport world, is that we want to put the heliport where it actually is supposed to be. The same thing with airport world. We want it to be where it is supposed to be, at the elevation that it's supposed to be at. And this data has been collected from places, for example, ourairports.com. For those that don't utilize this resource, this is a fantastic resource to collect data, to get information about. Okay, so in the world, we can look anywhere in the world we want for airports and so forth, and you can see there's all these airports. Now, it is not an exact science, but some of the information that I've gathered is from here, right? So if you know there's something that's not in there, and if you come to our airports.com, and you find it in here, this is all the information that you need to provide me so that I can get it added in, or just simply say, as found on our airports. I'll come here. We'll come here and we'll use our API to kind of scrub the site to go ahead and get that information. Okay, let's go back to yeah. Okay, so just so you're aware that that's the case, like all these other projects, this does kind of have a roadmap, of what we want to get done and how we want to get it done and the things that we want to do. But again, we're a small development team, and I say we are a small development team. It's me and one other person that is doing all of this. Okay, and as we grow, we will add more team members in, but more team members changes some of the cost structure of how we do what we do, and I'm trying to keep that. I'm trying to keep the cost, to some reasonable level that or that it's affordable for people to have. That you're not spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. That's the hope. Anyways, okay. This is what Heliport World is. Okay. Now, I'm going to just quickly touch base here a little bit about SimMarket, and then we're going to wrap up. Then we're going to go to one more thing that we want to discuss, and then we're going to wrap up. So here are all of the projects at this point being released for sale on SimMarket. There's a number of airports that have been produced, and they have, high detailed 4K assets, hand modeled buildings and that kind of stuff, and all the way to just self-generated stuff that the SDK provides us as developers. But each one of these packages have been tested to be workable on 2020 and or 2024, as long as they actually say that that's what they're there for. Notice that there's one thing here that doesn't say that. Oh, there it says it right there. Okay, good. And this says 2024 here, but doesn't say it, but it actually says there. I need to get those corrected. Most of the packages, my goal is to have this stuff developed for both 2020 and 2024. It's rare that I will release something that isn't functional for both, because I understand that the simming community is kind of divided right now in the 2020 and 2024 world, and I don't want one part of that world to be able to have access to this project and the other part not. That's not to say that you can't, that I might have to, from time to time do it, but at this point we haven't. We've always been able to manage to get the package to work in both. So the final thing we want to talk about is we want to talk about currently all of the developments that we do are listed on SimMarket and only on SimMarket. They can't be purchased anywhere else. SimMarket, that's it. So if you want to buy a CanuckAir product, that is where you're going to go to buy it. But I also recognize that as we get more and more of these packages out there, and we're getting more, we need to centralize. And SimMarket does a really good job with centralizing the downloads, the purchasing, and all of that. They do a really good job of that. But they don't allow me to publicate roadmaps. They don't allow me to provide information to you, the community, what is being developed. This update has been recognized. It needs to get done. I understand this. There's this given problem. We need to get it fixed. And it doesn't allow me to address those things adequately. So, enter CanuckAir Operations Center. This is early development, but it is coming. It will, at some point, it will be the hub of all CanuckAir. At some point, you will come here and purchase your add-ons here. You can continue to purchase them through SimMarket just the same. That's up to you guys where you want to purchase. But everything that you have purchased through CanuckAir Simulations will be here in your portal. Now, this is a very stripped down version of the portal. This portal will be more complex. It will grow. Right now, you can see a test user in there, and that user has purchased two things, both CanuckAir's Airport World and CanuckAir's Heliport World. Yes, it hasn't been released, but this is demonstration and all of that. There will be a news tab in here to look at what the current news is. There'll be, a development roadmap. I'll probably not, to start with, to have a development roadmap that will break them out in individual projects, but it'll probably be, to start with, what is the roadmap? What does it look like, for first quarter next year? What does it look like for second quarter next year? What are we doing? Whether it be new product development, update products on this package or that package, that kind of stuff. There will be a storefront that will also be here at some point, where you will be able to purchase your items directly from this operations center. I will not, for the foreseeable future, and likely not ever, remove all of my product and content from SimMarket, because I'm very appreciative of SimMarket for the work in which they have done, and I feel that they deserve, A, for my products to stay listed on their site, and B, there's a huge group of people that's where they want to come and buy the products from, and I want them to be able to still continue to do that if they choose to. This Ops Center will be where all updates will come eventually. This is where they'll come from. You will have a place where you can download this Ops Center for free, and you will install it. You will create a username and a password, and all your purchases will be added into here. And any subsequent updates that is available to you as far as a free upgrade will be in here. So it's intended to kind of centralize. I can't do a very good job of doing updates and making sure that everybody gets a copy of the update that they should get at this present time, and nor can I release news and that kind of stuff. So that's Ops Center. So let's just kind of wrap this whole thing up. I'm happy to announce myself to you and the world as being the head of CanuckAir Simulations, and I'm looking forward to growing, looking forward to your responses as we move forward. Currently, the way to get in touch with me is sales at CanuckAirSimulations.com. As that resource grows into a place where we need to have a more structured way of getting information, we will develop some kind of a reporting system that you can report on and you can follow on. And it'll likely be a part of this portal thing here that we're talking about. You'll be able to message the sales team or the support team or whatever. You'll be able to message them using this portal system. There's a lot of work to come in the coming days or weeks or months, but this is who CanuckAir is. This video will be released on YouTube's Stream Gamers. This is probably where you're seeing it for the first time, likely. There will be a YouTube channel for CanuckAir Simulations forthcoming, and I will, for the foreseeable future, be posting all YouTube videos related to CanuckAir Simulations on both channels to start with. At some point that will change, and they will only be on CanuckAir Simulations YouTube. All right, let me just finish off with a couple of things that hopefully I will be able to articulate to you, the users and the purchasers of all of this stuff, adequately. I want to let everybody know that who has purchased, who has supported. There are a group of people that have done some testing for me, and those will remain anonymous at this point, but they've done some testing for me, and they're invaluable to me. Those that are watching this YouTube, you guys will know who you are, and I appreciate each and every one of you for all of the testing that you've done for me to kind of validate some of the projects that we've been working on. To you guys, the community who are purchasing and supporting us, I greatly appreciate all of your continued support. To you users who have said, hey, who is this CanuckAir? Who is this team? Has anybody heard of them? Hopefully this will answer that question. This is who we are. This is what we are. And we are going to continue to grow and produce more and more primarily scenery-like projects. But we have, when I say we, I have a number of innovative projects on the drawing board, as it were. I don't want to explain what they are just yet because they may be sometime out before the actually even the community actually gets to see what they are. But I do have a number of projects on the drawing board that I want to make a reality out of them all. Some of them are based on more cost-effective measures than what is existing out there in the community right now, because I think the community pays an exorbitant amount of money to stay and to keep this realism going, so that they get this immersion level, and I want to reduce that for myself as well as for everybody in the community. And others are more, you guys have not seen this stuff before. And those are big plans. And I won't say what they are, like I said, because should they not come to fruition, I don't want you guys to say, hey, well, you said you're going to do this. I want to make sure that they can come to fruition before I actually let you guys know what they are. Right. I'll just finish up with this. I thank you very much for all of your continued support and your moving forward support. If there's things that you think we need to do that we're doing, or that we need to do differently, by all means go ahead and send us an email about it, and let us know. There will also be a Discord. I will publish that information here on the website. So the website is CanuckAirSimulations.com. And I'll try to put all this stuff into the description down below so that you guys all have, some centralized place where you can collect all this information rather than try to go back in the video and remember what I said. All right. CanuckAir Simulations, Raymond, that's me. And that's the end of the video, guys. I will bid you adieu until the very next one that's coming out, which will likely be more informational and or product updates. All right. Bye-bye now.